Hello and welcome to another exciting interview with key personnel from the events industry, going out to our hospitality and events magazine audience through our social media and website channels. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mr. Gerard Lennox, who I'm sure you can see next to me. And Gerard is the managing director of Xitagy. Hello, Gerard.
Hello, and how are you, Elliot?
I'm very well, and I hope you are too. So let's get straight into it, Gerard. If you want to just give us a little bit of background about you and the company.
Well, I'll try and keep it to less than 40 minutes. I started in events way back at school. As you can tell, I'm a spring chicken of 32 years age. And I was putting on events at school when I was 15, 16. And one way and another, my career has been in and around the events industry and theatre without anybody realising it. But my primary background is in computer software. And over the last 10 years or so, we've been honing that combination of skills between me and a few other people to provide technological solutions for people in primarily the business to business corporate marketing area, whatever you want to call it, be that conferences, exhibitions, seminars, and so forth. If I go back far enough, we were one of the pioneers in what is now called CRM, when it was called Salesforce Automation, if you can remember that far back.
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
And I couldn't possibly point out that some outfit called Salesforce nicked half our ideas and sold them in America.
Yes.
But they had a wee bit more capital behind them, and they were better, obviously, at marketing. So that's the way these things pan out. And as I say, for the last few years, I've been heavily involved with a number of people in different ways, shapes and forms. I've been involved with an online registration system called Symphony, where I've been helping them market that for a long while. And with Xitagy and our new products, which are Telemann and Book Me Into, we've been doing all sorts of things to come up with systems which are probably the same as everybody else's, but we think they're better for doing registration, managing delegates and speakers and exhibitors.
You're a regular at the exhibitions within the corporate events industry. Are your products sort of mainly focused in that area or completely focused in that area?
Pretty much, yeah. Our target market is made up of two groups of people: those who run conferences and exhibitions, promoters, for want of a better word. But a larger part of our marketplace is actually the corporate marketing departments of reasonable sized companies.
Okay.
People who are running seminars, people who are running predominantly business to business type events. We have no real knowledge of the experiential world, the consumer led world. And although we've been involved in running events and have run God knows how many events over the years, we're not an event management company. That's not our skill. Our skill is providing the technology, basically marketing events, registering people on events. And as time has gone on, much more interactive stuff that's been coming out over the last few years. You may have heard of a thing called the internet.
I have.
Well, we were doing stuff with that. Yeah, well, in a way we are now. But we've been doing stuff for 10, 15 years, probably more now, which people said couldn't be done. And yet it could be. However, there wasn't the infrastructure to make it work. But now we've got everybody with a mobile phone. We've got 4G, 5G, whatever the hell G it is this week, in different parts of the world. And we can actually seriously talk about having Wi-Fi within a conference or an exhibition.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can remember a time.
works, which is which is always a challenge when we go off to these larger events and everybody's trying to share it. Obviously, things have changed a lot in the last few months into how events are unfolding now and the future and so on. How have you as a company sort of adapted to that?
Well, the short answer is that whatever it was, February the 23rd, or whatever the magic date was, the world, as far as we were concerned, shut down. We were going to be involved with a number of events which were happening. Some funny little thing called Wimbledon, I think, was a major thing for us.
Okay.
We were going to be working with some, as a technological supplier to various people that were involved with Wimbledon and corporate hospitality and stuff there, because that's a major part of our, or was a major part of our business, managing corporate hospitality within large organizations. And of course, that just vanished overnight, as did everybody else's plans. We're not unique in that. There were a couple of little bits and pieces that were going on, but all the big stuff just died up overnight. And that allowed us to do what the Americans call pivot, which I think is a posh term for spinning around on a very spiky thing and thinking, I don't want to be here, but I better do something about it before it hurts a lot.
It's now an international term, I think, as well.
It is, yes. One of those words that we probably never should have used and shouldn't carry on using, but everybody thinks they know what it means. Doesn't really matter. In this instance, it was a question of saying, we've been kicking some ideas around for a while. We've been experimenting with things for a while. We've done some beta development of ideas, but nobody actually got their proverbial digit out and had a reason to do it, because it was easier to carry on the way we were. And there's that nasty, technological thing where we don't know how it works and it's a bit scary, so we're not going to go near it. Whereas if we just shove somebody up on a stage and talk, and they let them talk for a while, we can call it a conference and it'll work wonderfully. Well, the reality is that has been falling apart for probably 5 years. It's just that nobody knew that it was really falling apart. And this has given everybody a chance to reappraise that. And to prove that things work. And the very thing that we're doing today, you wouldn't have thought of doing this 12 months ago. It just wouldn't have been on the agenda.
No.
And it wouldn't have been practical. Let's face it, we had the huge technological problem, you and I, not 20 minutes ago, because you sent me the wrong link.
I can't believe you told everybody that.
And you know what? That's all it was. As soon as I clicked on the right link, it all worked. And we've got to a point where you expected it and I expected it, and it wasn't a problem.
Yes.
And that's exactly to a degree where we are now.
Yeah.
So it allowed us to put together a lot of ideas we'd been kicking around, turn them into some real software and services to go with it, and then try and work out, okay, how's anybody going to use this in the real world? What do people want to do? Is it all about virtual reality and avatars and God knows what all? Or do we actually get people to start really thinking about what it is that they want from these events and what's the purpose of them? And in fact, one of the things that I've really, I may as well get on my soapbox at the moment.
Why not?
Because I've thought for a long while that a lot of these events were actually a waste of time. They're a waste of time in the sense that a huge amount of time went into organizing them. A lot of time went into people preparing presentations for them. Most importantly, a lot of time went into the attendees turning up to look at them. Actually, they only wanted an hour of it, whatever it was. Yes. But they ended up having to take the day out. So I've taken a leaf out of the TED Talks world. You're familiar with TED Talks?
Yeah.
You can love them or hate them. You can disagree with the people that are doing it, but they have become incredibly good at getting very complex ideas across in a very short space of time.
And we're all time sensitive at the moment, so more than ever. So this sounds like the perfect solution.
And it is my contention that the people who are running seminars, conferences, exhibitions are actually in the information publishing and dissemination business. They're not in the conference business. It's another form of publishing.
Yeah, well, usually it's the publishers that have developed the event brands, haven't they? So
yes,
so
but they've forgotten why they were doing it. Well, the truth of the matter is they were really doing it as a way to make money.
Of course.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that, because if it didn't achieve what either the delegates, attendees wanted or what the sponsors wanted, it wouldn't have carried on.
Correct. So is it Book Me In to and the Congress? Is this the software that you're talking about?
This is the thing that is going to change the world. It is so dynamic that 400 other companies are offering virtually the same thing.
Right.
And I say that slightly tongue-in-cheek. There's a lot of people who are jumping on the webinar hybrid event model, and some will do it extremely well. Some will be completely rubbish at it.
So what's better about yours? Come on, now's your chance.
Well, we're small, incredibly flexible, and highly customized, and that's really the key to it.
That's good.
There are other people who've got phenomenal packages. There are a lot of people who are trying to offer this as a software as a service, but in actual fact, what we're finding is two things. Unless you've got a massive budget and you're prepared to put a lot of time and effort behind it, it can become a very expensive hobby. It becomes expensive because there aren't the skills there to make it happen. And we think that what is important is to, certainly for the next year or two, to provide a hand-holding exercise so that we can take that away from the event organizers and the sponsors to let them get on with what they're good at, which is selling the event, creating the buzz about it, creating the content, and then we'll deal with the technology one way and another. And if it needs a widget to do something, we'll give it a damned widget if we haven't got one. Because software is easy to produce if you know what you're doing with it.
Absolutely.
And as long as it's reliable and it's reasonably fast and it doesn't break down, end of discussion.
Yeah, fine. So what are your thoughts, Gerard, looking ahead? Obviously, right now, the industry is, whilst hopefully seeing some green shoots of recovery, we're still, I guess, suffering from the results of the pandemic. And looking further ahead, what are your thoughts about how things are gonna pan out?
I think a couple of things are going to happen. Probably three things. One is some of it will go back to where it was before, and nobody knows who's going to turn up and how long they're going to spend at these events. I think there is definitely a knee-jerk reaction against extensive travel, particularly if it involves public transport one way or another. But there's always been, particularly in this country, a London-centric element to the exhibition and conference world.
Yes.
But if half the middle management and above is not travelling in on a regular basis, it's going to have to be damned attractive to get them into somewhere one way or another.
Absolutely.
And a 2-hour train journey from Manchester down to London to go to an exhibition is not going to be improved by taking 7 minutes off it with high-speed trains.
Not really.
One way and another.
Not really.
Secondly, we're all getting used to talking on video.
We are.
But we don't really want to spend 8 hours on it. So I think we've got to think about how we present these things. There was a really good article I saw from yesterday, an analysis of what the Democratic Convention had done and how they'd done it well. And the key bit was that they'd turned it into a show. They'd turned it into something that people would watch. They'd got good presenters who were well honed.
Yeah.
And they'd broken it up as well. They'd broken it up in the sense that they'd got heavy stuff, then light stuff, then a bit of music or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to happen. But my biggest interest at the moment on my sort of soothsayer bit is that this is the time of the small venue.
Right.
So traditionally, you wanted to get loads of bodies to your conference or your exhibition. So you got the biggest damn hall you could, which cost you a fortune to hire. Then you had to sell more stands to fill the hall and all that sort of caper. And you had to get more bodies into the auditorium to cover the costs, and just goes on.
Yeah.
Which meant there were relatively few big venues. If you wanted to, you could almost count on two hands the number of venues that could take in this country 5,000 people.
Right.
And there's not that many that can comfortably take 500 one way and another. Throw social distancing into it and the whole equation becomes a bit of a laugh, in terms of if we're in 2-meter bubbles and then we're going to have one-to-one meetings where we shout over a perspex screen or whatever the hell it is.
It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, well, that's the best one I've heard so far, which was what's that sort of concept where you have speed dating between suppliers and customers, and you go from desk to desk every 5 minutes, and then a perspex screen in the middle. It's like, right. I really want to do that. Just clean the spittle off every 5 seconds or something. But
well, listen, it's a solution, I suppose, to continuing, working together, which I suppose is hopefully only going to be short term.
But one of the things I was trying to get across is that with the hybrid model, you may have a smaller number of people who actually turn up, but a larger number of people who are online. So suddenly there's an opportunity for an awful lot of smaller venues to go for these opportunities.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think this is something quite fantastic, because that means that we've got a lot more choice to work with. And there are people who are quite capable of supporting an event with 50 to 200 people in it. And with a ballroom or whatever.
Quality, not quantity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's the same with any event that we go to. If the people are good, the quality's good. It doesn't matter how many people are there. And so I do totally agree with you, Gerard.
But from the exhibitor's point of view, there is an element of quantity as well, because historically the marketing department has judged its results on the number of bodies that came on the stand.
Yeah.
They've got
a little bit further than that.
Yes, and they've got to change their thought process, I think, to measuring it in a better way, because you then run into that classic problem that marketing dreamt up the leads, threw them over the wall to sales. Sales ignored them because they thought they were rubbish and it wasn't worth going to. Nobody's won at that point.
Gerard, we are running short of time.
Indeed.
And, we could talk all day, I'm sure. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. That's your website there, so we don't have to tell everybody about that, but I'm sure they know where to find you. And of course, we see you at many of the events anyway. You're certainly a character that has an identity. So I'm sure we'll be bumping into you very soon. And it's been, as I say, a pleasure talking to you. So I don't know if you've got anything you would like to add just to finish off.
As well as Xitagy.com, you can go to bookmeinto.com, and then you'll see all the software, and there'll be a link in about 10 minutes on the Xitagy website so that you can go through to the software. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk.
It's been a pleasure, and thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.